The year was coming to an end. I changed into the Western clothes I'd brought because I knew it would take time to get used to them, and I headed for Goryokaku. Our girl's got her clothes, finally. I can't wait to see them. A star-shaped fortress built in Hakodate. It made use of European-style fortifications and served as the chief fortress for the Republic of Ezo. The main hall was full of people, all of them there to celebrate the establishment of their new government. But Hijikata wasn't among them. He was in his room, alone. I took a deep breath, then wrapped my hand against the door several times in quick succession. Okay, hold on. Oh. Otori had called it knocking, and told me that it was customary to do it when opening a Western-style door to signal whoever was inside. After a few seconds of silence, a tired voice drifted out. I'm so nervous about this. I'm not attending. This isn't the time for a party. I knew that voice very well. I put my hand on the doorknob and turned. Excuse me. He turned toward the door, preparing a half-hearted tirade for whoever intruded on his solitude. When he saw me, the words froze in his throat. Chizuru Yukimura reporting as ordered. I have been assigned to serve as Assistant Army Minister Hijikata's page, by Army Minister Otori. His mouth worked soundlessly for a moment, finally closing with a snap. He stared at me intently for several more seconds, and he frowned. It's a mistake. I haven't been told about this. I handed him the letter Otori had given me. I received these orders from Army Minister Otori earlier. He snatched the envelope from me with a scowl and tore it open. His eyes scanned the page rapidly, his frown deepening with each line. When he finished, he shot me a sharp look and thrusted the letter and its envelope back into my hands. No. Take it back. I don't approve these orders. Well, excuse me, sir. I'm intrigued, though, about take it back. Because, I mean, I assume if we take it back, we're not just going to get on a ship and leave. Are we just going to, like, pretend to leave and get all sad, and then he'll feel bad about it and be like, actually, no, you know, I've been really sad without you. I should just save. I'll save it, and then I can make a choice. I'm going to try taking it back, so I'm curious what that is. I take it back. I understand. I nodded and took the letter from his outstretched hand. Then I tore it to pieces. Oh, that was interesting. I was not expecting that. Wow, that was so passive-aggressive, Chizuru. Good job. What are you doing? He looked shocked. I don't care if you won't approve these orders. I shouldn't have relied on them in the first place. I tried to force Hijikata to let me stay with Otori's orders. Now I saw how wrong that had been. I hadn't come to Ezo because I was ordered to. I had accepted Otori's help and came to Ezo because I wanted to be with Hijikata. That was all that mattered. I came here because I wanted to. I want you to let me stay. Here. With you. I couldn't let orders be the reason. He had to make that choice. Not fair for me to be the only guy with the luxury of a girl for a page. Especially when I'm sending men off to die. Is that why you left me? He fell silent and shifted, uncomfortable. Stop this! Before I realized that I was yelling, Hijikata looked equally surprised. You always do this! You decide you can't do something, then you make up all the excuses you need to justify it. You say you're doing it for my feelings without even knowing my feelings. When he left me behind, Hijikata had said that he couldn't make me happy, that I should go live my life. But he was what made me happy, and I wanted to live my life with him. Now he was trying to push me away again so that he could bear his burden alone. I couldn't let him do that. You take on so much and you won't let anyone else help! That's my job. If I can handle it, then it's my responsibility too. What about the people who have to watch you do this? I'd watched him torture himself this way for too long. Every hardship, every burden was his, and his alone to suffer in solitude. And I hadn't been the only one. Inoue, Yamazaki, Kondo, they all had to watch him, and so had plenty of other people who cared about him. I can't let you do this to yourself! I want to be here for you! I want to help you! What else am I supposed to do? Hijikata suddenly became blurry, and I realized that there were tears filling my eyes. He fell silent. After several moments, he sighed and slumped. I give up. I blinked. I had no idea what he was talking about. Huh? Hey, he enjoyed our tirade. I enjoyed it immensely. Good job, girl. I'm proud of you. Can't fight an Edo woman. Better to just listen to him, I guess. His voice was gentle, and he looked up with a wry smile. Then suddenly his arms were around me. Heck yeah! It's about damn time! It was so unexpected, but I let myself sink into his chest, speechless. He held me tightly. It was as if now that he finally had me, he didn't ever want to let go. Now that is a beautiful picture. Ever since you left. He stopped, and I could sense him trying to organize his feelings. I got the impression he was confused. I've figured some things out. His arms tightened. I picked up on his scent, and I breathed in deeply. Whatever distance had separated us in the past was long gone now. You supported me. Guess that's the best way to put it. He sounded slightly bewildered, as if even he couldn't believe what he was saying. Fair. He wasn't the only one. Am I able to be of any use to him? Was I able to alleviate even a smidge of his pain? When you're not here, it's hard for me to deal with it. All of it. Life, I guess. With each word he spoke, my heart swelled warmly in my chest. Each word descended like snowflakes, gently gathering onto the soft ground. You saved me. I could feel the warmth of his body touching every part of mine. I couldn't stop crying. Chizuru. Do you think the Shinsengumi still stands for what it means to be a true samurai? Have I done what I was supposed to? Have I led us down the right path? I nodded. The soul of the Shinsengumi that our friends believed in is alive in you. In fact, I think it's even stronger now. We've been through a lot, but it's brought all of us together. Hearing you say that makes me happy. His voice was warm. I could sense that he was happy from the bottom of his heart at the response I gave him. The men the Shinsengumi has left are true samurai. No more need for the Iron Fist. Yes. Everyone in the Shinsengumi now had the unity of vision that brought a clarity of purpose, hopefully meaning that Hijikata's burden would lessen a little. Well, from now on, please don't try and hide your problems from me. I'm here to help you. You don't have to do this alone anymore. It was a sincere request from me. He was silent then, but his arms stayed wrapped around me. Then at last, he spoke. I moved closer, as his voice was barely above a whisper. Oh, my heart. Stay with me. That phrase alone had so much meaning behind it, I had nothing more to say. You guys didn't smooch after that? Bull! That's... I don't believe in it. How did you guys not smooch? Ah! Fine. Gotta work up to something more, I guess. That was beautiful, though.
Miss Yukimura, long time no see. We were eagerly awaiting your return for a while now.
Soma, Nomura. So, how was the dramatic reunion, huh? Ah! What do you mean by how was it? I couldn't answer him with a straight face, so I muffled my voice. Nomura's face blushed with color. He's like, I don't know what you guys were up to. Well, ever since the chief left your side, Miss Yukimura, it looked like he just sunk deeper and deeper into depression. Yeah, it made us realize how much he needs you by his side.
And now the two of you can be together as much as you want to be.
Well, yes. I'm sure we can. Oh, Ipa's here too? Okay.
Ah, I thought I heard the chirp of a familiar voice. So, you were at Ezo too.
I knew that voice. Oh my god, you look so Question. Why does he have a dragon T-Rex claw again? What? Did Takeda come after you? And did you have that whole side story thing happen just on your own without me being involved? Because if so, that's amazing. Also, man, I think you with the short hair is like the most stark out of all the guys. It doesn't seem to fit you as well as the other guys. I just gotta get used to it. But why do you have a T-Rex claw again, sir? Anyway. Iba, you're safe! And you have a dragon claw. A warrior who served in the Battle of Hakone, despite having a serious permanent injury in his left arm. Squint. Wow. But you're injured.
Indeed. Sadly, I was injured in combat against some of the Imperial Army's forces. Iba was appointed as the infantry head of the Ugeki unit during the last election.
A leader who commands low-ranking soldiers in a military unit, and the Ugeki. 10? Yeah, there we go. A unit made up of men from the shogunate's martial arts dojo and his vassals. Really? That's fantastic news! Congratulations!
Thank you, but I don't know how much I'll be able to accomplish in this state, unfortunately. But for now, I am here, and all I can do is fight until the end beside Toshi.
The Shinsengumi is a symbol of the true samurai. As the words came out of my mouth, Iba's expression softened and he smiled proudly.
Ah, for someone like me who's known Toshi for quite some time, I suppose it comes as no surprise. Here I can live and see the end of my life as a true samurai.
Iba.
If there is ever anything you need from me, do not hesitate to ask me. I will always support you and Toshi.
I shall. Man, I'm getting all the boys' blessings with Toshi. As Hijikata's page, I spent every day assisting him in his duties. Since coming to Ezo, he'd seemed much more at ease during the daylight hours. Perhaps there was something about the northern climate that was affecting his fury blood. My job saw me spending more time around Hijikata than I had ever had before. It was interesting, to say the least. He began treating me quite nicely. Nice. I felt a little bad that I was getting spoiled, but whenever I was around him, my heart pounded. My breaths became quick and shallow just by being in his presence. One day, just after the beginning of the new year, Otori came to visit Hijikata. Please, have some tea. Oh, thank you. Your assistant here is quite something. Tell me, where did you find her?
Well, I think some samurai wannabe had her sent over here without my permission. You know anything about that?
Oh, I was only doing it for your sake, you know. Although I'm a bit jealous now. A cute, dedicated, efficient page. What man could ask for anything more?
No, I'm... My cheeks felt like they were burning up. I tried frantically to busy myself with the tea. I was hoping, perhaps senselessly, to avoid meeting anyone's eyes. Hijikata glanced at me for a moment, then back at Otori, his face calm and serene.
I agree. So long as she sticks with me, I don't think I'll ever need any other page.
Ah! I nearly dropped the tea! Otri also looked rather surprised, but quickly raised his cup to his lips in an attempt to hide it. I felt as if I should say something, but... when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. My heart pounded so fast. Can't breathe.
I, didn't think I'd hear something like that from you, Hijikata. I'd want a wife like her, too.
Wait. What? That... How did that... Okay.
Well, she's mine. You'll have to find one of your own, because there's no way I'm letting her go.
Wait, am I your wife now? Am I your work wife? What is this? No wonder she's dropping tea. Come on, guys.
Now you're just rubbing it in.
My face was growing hotter by the moment. By now, my ears were probably the same shade of brilliant scarlet as my cheeks.
Well, with Hijikata in this sort of, mood, I suppose I shouldn't stay too long.
With one last grin at me, he turned to Hijikata. Excuse me, what are you implying? When he spoke, his voice was grim. I could do with some grimness, please. My poor heart.
So, back to business. Do you think they'll be coming?
Yeah. Soon as the snow melts.
Well, if you think so too, I'm convinced. I've been thinking the same thing myself. Enomoto wants to try and work things out diplomatically, but it seems as though fighting will be inevitable.
Yeah. There'll be a fight, that's for sure. No way the Imperial Army's gonna just forget about us.
Oh. At last I understood.
Enomoto can hope for peace if that's what he wants to do, but the army should be ready to move as soon as spring's here.
Of course. Don't worry about Enomoto and his cabinet. I'll deal with them.
Huh. Gotta admit, before we came here, I never thought you and me would ever see eye to eye.
I know, you guys had such a rocky beginning, but you're good friends now, which is nice to see.
I know, right? I mean, I can say this now, but I was thrown back when I first met you.
Back at you. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to do when you asked to shake my hand the first time.
Well, I wasn't born into a family of warriors.
Hey, me neither. I'm a farmer's son from Tama.
What?
Yet here you are, commanding the respect as a true samurai. A man can only be judged by the path he walks, not the name he bears, nor the house from which he comes.
Otri and Hijikata were two very different people, but listening to his passion as he talked, there was no doubt that he was similarly admired by his men. His words resonated with me especially. I was born into a family of demons, but here I was. All my life I thought I was human. Nothing more, nothing less. But the truth in this discovery gave me life beyond who I thought I was, and they accepted me.
We chose to fight for what we believed in. That path led us here. That's all there is to it.
Our ambition will never waver. We'll fight till the end and give it all we've got.
Thanks for your time.
He bowed to both of us, stood up, and let himself out. There's going to be a battle? I said about clearing the teacups.
Come here, Chizuru.
He turned and stepped out of the room without even waiting for my response. Huh? I asked you a question. I set the teacups down again and trotted after him. Accurate description. Outside, the wind was frigid. Without thick clothing, it cut straight through to the bone. We looked out over Ezo, blanketed in snow.
See those mountains?
Yeah. Some miles distant, a row of snow-covered peaks thrust their way up into the slate-gray sky like jagged teeth.
They'll attack Hakodate through those mountains.
Why not from the ocean? They'd have to come by ship. There was no other way to Ezo. That meant they'd have to land somewhere to unload troops, so I assumed they'd try and take the port first.
No, they're smarter than that. We've got the advantage if they just try to take the port. If the Imperial Army comes to Ezo, they'll probably land on Otobe. Maybe Azashi.
A famous beach destination on Hokkaido's Takushima Peninsula, close to Hakodate. And Azashi? 3, 2. A port town facing the Sea of Japan in southwestern Ezo.
Once their men are over the mountains, they'll have their navy open fire on Hakodate. Attack us on 2 fronts.
We were at a disadvantage then. Isn't there anything we can do?
Not if they attack from the ocean. If it turns into a naval battle, we're screwed. The battle here at Goryakuku will be my last. This is the last place I'll ever draw my sword as a samurai.
Hijikata. Did that mean he believed he would die? I was desperate to talk about something else, all of a sudden. It could have been anything else, really, so I said the first thing that came into my head. So, if they don't come, then what will you do? There was no doubt that they would come, but I couldn't help but dream that maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't.
If they don't come for us, this whole thing ends. Won't need something like the Shinsengumi anymore.
A new era where samurai weren't needed? Where men were no longer compelled to draw swords against one another? Could such a future ever come to pass? I felt my heart swell with a desperate hope that it might. No sooner had we stepped back into the inviting warmth of Hijikata's office than his expression suddenly shifted. Uh-oh.
Ugh.
Man, it's been a while. His body changed as I watched, his fury nature forcing itself to the fore. Hijikata!
Don't worry. I've been doing pretty good since I came to Ezo. Looks like my body is getting worse. Hope it'll hold up till spring at least.
Did he mean that he was ready to throw away his life so long as he lived to fight in one last battle? Please, don't say that! Didn't I tell you why I'm here? I unbuttoned my collar, exposing the pale flesh of my neck, and stepped toward him. Please, don't say you just want to live until spring. I need you to live longer than that. Much longer. Tears fought to get out, but I swallowed and pushed them back. I'm not going to let you go!
You're a scary girl, you know that.
Thanks. He smiled, although the pain twisted it into a heart-wrenching grimace. There we go. Hey, she's wearing her new outfit. That's pretty cool. His hands clasped my shoulders, and I felt his lips brush my neck.
Haven't tasted any blood in a while.
I blinked. You haven't had any since you left me back in Sendai? He fell silent, and I guessed I was probably right. Why? I almost asked why not, but it was probably for the best that I didn't. He likely wouldn't have answered. I somewhat suspected I already knew the reason. If he only cared that his body lasted until spring, then he likely hadn't been taking care of it. That stubbornness of him was a double-edged sword to be sure, but it was part of what made him, him. I wouldn't have changed it for the world. What did you say? Oh my goodness, girl. My blood must taste awfully good. I felt him stop suddenly for a moment, surprised, but his lips stayed pressed against my neck. Because, you know, I'm a demon. In fact, it must be so good that you don't want to drink anyone else's blood. He let out a soft snort of surprise. Yeah, sure, girl.
Well, maybe you're right.
When his lips touched my neck again, they felt very, very gentle. Mm-hmm. And yet you guys won't smooch? Still you guys won't smooch? Come on! Before his body gives out, before spring, do something. That too much to ask? Oh, I forgot. This is chapter 5. I meant to check. How are we doing with this boy? Hey, full bloom. Alright, low corruption. We good. Excuse me.
Come in.
Hijikata's eyes were fixed on a stack of documents, and I mustered a troubled smile back at him. This was a familiar scene for me whenever I found him in his office in Goroyakuku, as it seemed his work ethic was the same as it ever was. Knowing him, he'd been going at it since the morning, and he must have been exhausted. Even if I was worried he'd find me obnoxious, I placed Hijikata's teacup beside him as he scribbled furiously onto a piece of parchment.
The hell's this? Don't remember asking you for tea.
I know, but I took the liberty of making you some. Ugh. Hijikata scrunched his nose, and he finally looked up at me as I flashed him a bright grin. I wasn't afraid of him anymore, even if he glared. Well, for now at least.
Don't worry, I'm not tired. In fact, I'm starting to think I'm cut out for all this bureaucratic crap.
Well, it's true that your duties here in your office are very important, but it's not like I could imagine a job or position that you wouldn't be cut out for.
Of course you can. I hate public speaking, and even worse, I hate having to deal with emotional bullshit. Well, I know about that at least.
I suppose, for Hijikata, loathing a profession never got in the way of completing his duties. I was certain that he had a knack for public speaking, let alone balancing the emotional stress that comes with managing a large group of soldiers.
So, looks like I have to thank Enomoto and Otori for stomaching all of that shit so that I don't have to.
Yes, but in return, you're the one who's in charge of managing all of the subordinates, right, Hijikata?
You win some, you lose some. They've been calling me a demon for so long, it's kind of been throwing me off. Hell, I don't think you could pay me enough to bark at those idiots or act like the demon I used to.
His purple eyes glanced towards me with an exceptional gleam, and it was like he was a completely different person from the man I met all those years ago in Kyoto. It's true. It was true. Hijikata was no longer the demon vice commander, and it seems he discovered an inimitable truth. The practice of self-love was deeply fulfilling.
What's the matter? Do I have something on my face?
Huh? Oh. I was wondering when people started calling you a demon. Was it from when you first moved to Kyoto? When you were all working to establish yourselves? Oh, of course, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to.
I guess it'll come up sooner or later. Don't get too excited, it's not that interesting.
Story time? No story time. I don't get to hear it. Boo. I was all excited. Huh. Fine. March 1868. Spring. News that the Imperial Army's plan to strike Goroyakuku reached our scouts. The former shogunate's navy flagship back in Ezo, the Kayamaru, was sadly sunk in a naval offensive. A piece of information that proved unnerving was the news that the Imperial Army was sending a brand new ship rumored to be even bigger than the Kayamaru. News of this, perhaps unsurprisingly, deeply unsettled the members of the Republic of Ezo. Yeah, understandably. On the night of the news arrival, Hijikata held a meeting into the late hours of night. I waited outside of the meeting room patiently. Hi, Shimada.
Yukimura, our meeting is over.
Oh, thank you for everything you do, Shimada. Today has been a rough day on everyone. All of you must be hungry. I am planning on bringing Hijikata something to eat.
Actually, don't. I think it's better if you hold off for now.
What makes you say that?
I don't want to worry you, but Hijikata seems to be in quite the foul mood after tonight's meeting. I believe it'd be best if you left him alone for the time being.
With that, Shimada exhaled an enormous sigh, and he bowed before walking away with a slumped head. For Shimada to be in such a dour mood must mean that whatever they discussed in there was truly serious. Imagining the possibilities made my palms sweat. It can't be that bad. I'm used to being scolded. I raised my head high and I stood in front of his room. Hijikata, I'm coming in. As I let myself into his room, I saw something that stopped me dead in my tracks. What, his beauty? Hijikata wasn't sitting in his usual spot. Instead, he was sitting on the floor with a grave expression.
I don't recall letting you in.
I'm sorry. I heard your meeting ended. If you'd like even just a nip of something to eat, I can bring you something soon. What do you say?
Don't want it. Not hungry.
That's a gorgeous picture. He was curt, and I could tell he was irritable. Although whatever was discussed in their meeting was left for the meeting room, I could tell those heavy thoughts still swirled in his mind. I asked him. Yeah, he won't tell us. At least not if we ask directly. Is there anything I can do? Hijikata, is there anything I can do for you? Please, let me know. It could be anything.
I don't know how many times I've heard you say that.
I don't know how many times I've seen petals just fly out of your chest.
I seriously have nothing to ask of you. Sorry for taking things out on you.
Aww, look at that face.
When we first met, it drove me mad thinking that you and I couldn't relate to anything at all. But now that you're here, I can truly say that it makes me happy to have you here with me. I mean it.
Hijikata?
You've kept your eyes on me this whole time. Ever since we were in Kyoto, in fact. If I think about it, you're probably the person who's seen me at my lowest, but it's ironic, isn't it? Thanks to you, I can remember.
Remember what?
The weight of my burden. The reason every one of our friends sacrificed themselves. If it's something as simple as rushing straight in, I can just handle that kind of stuff myself. But having you here with me as someone to talk me through doing something stupid makes me think twice. You're my rock. Putting my life on the line isn't something I have to think about, but it's all about knowing the timing. You've helped me to come to this conclusion.
He turned his gaze towards the window, peering to what was outside with melancholy eyes. But even so, his words were kind. My heart fluttered warmly in my chest. Then, if my life's purpose is to be there for you, then nothing could make me happier. As a woman, this was really all I could ask for. I could only imagine everything he'd been through as he walked the path of the warrior. So for Hijikata to recognize me as someone who made the difference for him, I couldn't help but smile.
I've only caused you trouble.
Well, compared to the trouble you have to deal with, it's nothing.
Still, it's too much of a burden to put on the shoulders of a girl like you.
I won't let this bring me down. I am an Edo woman, after all.
I see.
Hijikata left the windowsill, and he slowly walked towards me.
I've changed my mind, Chizuru. I could use something to eat. Preferably your cooking.
Huh?
Surprise me. Just make sure it's good. Cook like the fate of the Shinsengumi is in your hands.
All at once, his face became warmly familiar to me. It was as if the realization of our connection hit me suddenly, and I couldn't help but grin madly. Okay. With the threat of war looming in the horizon, I could sense that Hijikata's mind would struggle to find itself at ease in the coming days. But even then, I took solace knowing I could give him just one moment of reprieve before whatever was to come. For now, this was all I could really offer him. I decided to give it my all as I was preparing his meal. It was the least I could do to make him happy.